The building was always quiet at night, too quiet for a city like Boston, where sounds usually tangled in the air like power lines overhead. But up on the 25th floor of the Grant and Easton building, time softened. It muted itself like a jazz record spinning in another room. Maya Williams stood in her office doorway barefoot, a mug warm in her hand, and watched Dante Carter move across the polished floor. He didn't speak. He never did unless it was necessary. His mop glided across marble like a metronome set to calm. But she saw him. Not just the janitor's uniform or the cart with its cleaning supplies. She saw the man beneath the silent routine, the one who knew she drank chamomile on Thursdays and left it outside her door without a note, the one who paused outside her office for a moment too long before walking away every time. "You think we could start right here?" she asked, her voice not trembling, just tired. He froze, not looking up. "You're not supposed to be here," he said, voice low. "You're not supposed to talk to tenants." "You're not a janitor tonight," Maya whispered, not unkind. "Tonight, you're the man who notices." Dante's grip on the mop handle tightened. The city blinked beyond the windows, cold lights and distant horns. Maya leaned on the doorframe, her midnight blue dress clinging to her like memory, stitched soft as grief and stronger than steel. He didn't speak, but she took a step forward anyway. "You don't flinch when I break," she said. "Most people do. You just wait. That's not nothing, Dante. It's not a mistake." He shook his head. "That wasn't the plan. Nothing about this is." She smiled slightly, sadness flickering in her eyes like a candle catching wind. What if plans were just the lies we told to keep from falling into something real? She stepped aside, the door open behind her, the light inside her office warm and waiting. Then she left him there, with his mop, his silence, and the question neither of them had permission to answer yet. That night, Dante sat in his apartment above the old barber shop on Tremont, staring at the untouched dinner in front of him. Outside, the city whispered its lullabies in traffic and neon. But he heard her voice again, soft and unrelenting. "You see me. You didn't look away. You remembered the tea. That shouldn't have mattered. It shouldn't have gotten under his skin. But it had." The next evening, 9 p.m. sharp, he pushed his cart down the executive corridor like always. But this time her door was open before he got there. And there were 2 cups on the desk. The one on the left had a sugar cube, just the way he took it. Maya didn't speak. She just looked at him and waited. He didn't walk past. Not that night. He stepped into the light. The room smelled like paper and lavender. The kind of scent that stayed on your clothes and made people ask questions. He didn't sit. He didn't need to. She was there, and that was the point. Maya stood by the window, the city laid out like a galaxy beneath her. She wore slate gray this time, her hair loose. "You came," she said. "Yeah," he replied. "I'm here." Their hands didn't touch when she handed him the tea, but something passed between them anyway. Something real, something old. He sipped. She watched. The silence wasn't awkward. It was full of things unsaid and things remembered. "You ever get tired of pretending?" she asked suddenly. "Pretending you don't want something just because it scares you?" He didn't answer right away. "Then, I didn't come here to want anything." "Then why did you come?" she asked. He finished his tea, setting the cup down with care. "Because I couldn't keep walking past that open door." Maya's lips curled into something between a smile and a sigh. "Then don't," Stay. Just a little longer. No rules tonight. No uniforms. Just you and me in the space between the noise. She moved to the small black speaker on her shelf and turned on music. Soft jazz filled the room, Miles Davis, smoky and slow, the kind of song that asks nothing except that you listen. She held out her hand. No pressure, no invitation wrapped in expectation. Just presence, just the hope of it. He hesitated, then took her hand. They didn't dance, not really, just swayed in place inches apart, a man who cleaned for a living and a woman who ran empires. In that moment, they were neither. They were just tired souls leaning into warmth. "You know, this doesn't change anything outside this room," he said. "I know," she replied, "but maybe it changes something in here." Afterward, he didn't stay. He didn't need to. The door stayed open, and sometimes that's all a person needs to know they can come back. Over the next week, their rhythm didn't change, but the meaning behind it did. Dante still cleaned the hallways with quiet focus. Maya still left her door ajar. Sometimes there was tea, sometimes not. But always, always there was space for him, for her, for whatever they were building in silence, but the building began to hum with whispers. Whispers turn to noise fast when power meets the unexpected. A junior intern posted a blurry photo on Slack. Dante standing in Maya's doorway. The caption, "Looks like the CEO has a new after-hours consultant." The post vanished in an hour, but the screenshots didn't. HR knocked on Maya's door on Friday, a concern about boundaries, professionalism, perception. "Are they concerned about the tea or my skin?" she asked, coolly. The HR rep flinched. "I don't think it's fair to frame it that way. Then maybe you're not listening clearly enough." That night, Maya didn't wait with tea. The light in her office was off. Dante stood outside her door for a long minute. He didn't knock. He didn't wait. He left a cup of tea on the floor and kept walking. 2 nights later, Maya called. Her voice was quiet. "You don't answer unknown numbers, huh?" "Depends on the night," he replied. "Well, tonight I could use company. I don't just mean your mop. I'm off duty. I'm not. Come over." Her apartment wasn't sleek like her office. It was warm, worn. Books and candles and a half-finished painting leaned against the wall. She wore leggings and an old t-shirt. No armor, no mask, just Maya. "Didn't think you'd come," she said. "Didn't think you'd ask," he replied. They sat on the floor, eating takeout and listening to Miles Davis again. Not talking much, just breathing. She looked at him finally. "They're calling you a project. Someone in the office. Not to your face, but it's going around." He didn't react. "That's not new." "It's not right either," she said. "I'm not defending you. I'm defending this. Us, whatever us is. You don't see me the way they do," he said. "They think I'm lucky, that you're doing me a favor. But you see me. That's dangerous." She handed him wine. "I'm done living safely." They didn't kiss that night. There was no crescendo, just warmth, just stillness. That kind of intimacy you only earn when silence feels like home. The next morning, a storm moved in. Not weather. Words. A blurry photo, an anonymous email, a subject line that burned. "Who's cleaning up after Maya?" Attached were images. Him in her office, him entering her apartment, her hand on his shoulder. No message, no threats, just exposure. HR returned. The board frowned. Maya stood in her office and listened. Then she turned to Dante and asked, "Do we stop?" He didn't hesitate. No, let them look. That night they danced again. No music, just breath, just two people standing in the truth. No uniforms, no rules, just hands, just hearts. It was raining the day the studio opened. Not the kind of rain that drenches, but the kind that lingers soft and insistent, like memory. Maya stood at the entrance of the old corner store on Walnut Street that now wore a new sign, the Fixery. Beneath it, the mural was half-finished lines of hope, arms reaching, gears turning in spirals. Dante arrived early. He always did. Hoodie up, toolbox in hand, shoulders calm like thunder, waiting its turn. Devin and Jalen followed close behind two young men Maya barely knew a month ago, now showing up with hammers, paint, and questions like, "So what time we teaching the kids to wire sockets?" It wasn't a job, it was a gathering, a small, deliberate rebellion. Inside, there was nothing expensive. Everything was touched, repaired, rescued from somewhere else. The walls still smelled of dust and lemon oil. Maya sat behind the repurposed desk, an old workbench painted yellow, typing out a note to the community board. She kept it simple. Free repairs, free art, shared breath, no questions asked. Miss Eleanor arrived carrying sweetbread and a Bible, wearing a scarf the color of protest. She kissed Maya on the cheek and said, "I knew your mother. She'd be proud." Maya didn't reply. Her mother had died in that same neighborhood, back when the city decided some blocks didn't deserve attention. But Maya remembered. That was the whole point. By noon, the line outside reached the bus stop. A woman with a broken stroller, a man with a fan that no longer blew, a boy with a light-up backpack that hadn't lit in years, and above it all, the mural grew. Dante worked quietly on the left side, painting a set of brown hands holding golden gears. Jalen sprayed soft blue behind him. Devin played Fela Kuti on a dusty speaker. It wasn't just repairs, it was restoration. Soul, brick, and wire. But hope invites resistance. Walter Crenshaw parked his Mercedes across the street just before sunset. Real estate teeth, pressed suit, smile like vinegar. Maya met him outside, arms folded. He didn't waste time. "You're trespassing," he said, waving a lease in her face. "This building is under review. Your modifications are not authorized." Maya raised an eyebrow. "We're fixing broken things, Mr. Crenshaw. You allergic to healing?" He smirked. "You think slogans can replace signatures? You think that mural gives you rights?" Dante stepped up beside her. Crenshaw looked him up and down. "Cute. You brought your pet." Maya stepped forward, eyes sharp. "That man has rebuilt more homes than you've sold condos. Mind your tongue." Crenshaw laughed. "You've made a mess, and soon you'll be mopping it up. Legally." 2 days later, the letter arrived. Termination of lease due to non-compliant use of space. 30 days to vacate. Maya posted the letter on the community board beside the mural. Underlined one line, "Unauthorized communal activity." Then she wrote beside it, "So they fear togetherness now." The Fixery didn't close. It grew louder. Each day, more people arrived. A grandmother with a cracked radio, a vet with a broken wheelchair joint, a teenage girl with tears and silence, asking only for somewhere quiet to paint. Dante created a side room for her. No questions, just walls and soft light. She painted sunflowers with fire behind them. It was enough. News came next. Local reporter, curious eyes, camera in hand. "We heard you're defying a shutdown order?" Maya smiled, tired but steady. We're not defying anything. We're building what no one else will. With love, with tools, with old parts and stubborn hearts. The story aired that night, and the next morning, the fixery was tagged. Black paint across the mural. Go back to cleaning. It dripped like blood. Dante didn't speak. He stared at the vandalism and walked inside. Came out with a roller and a bucket. Maya watched him paint over the insult not to erase it, but to transform it. He added light, wings, letters turned to roots. Now it's part of the story, he said softly. But Crenshaw wasn't done. He filed a complaint to the city, claimed the fixery was a hazard, a front, a fire risk. Maya received a summons. City Hall, public hearing. No lawyer, no backup, just her and a panel of tired eyes. She walked in wearing gray, sat alone, spoke plainly. This is about dignity, about sockets and string lights and made from pain. You can call it code violation. I call it CPR for a neighborhood choking on neglect. The panel murmured, took notes, made no promises. That night, Maya sat with Dante on the floor of the fixery, surrounded by paint and broken fan blades. I can't lose this, she whispered, not just because of them, but because it's the first thing that's felt like home. Dante leaned back, his eyes on the mural. Then we fight, with paint, with wires, with quiet. Let 'em come. They don't know we've got roots now. She laughed soft. Roots and concrete. The best kind. The kind that crack walls. Outside, rain started again. Light, patient, like memory returning, like something refusing to be erased. The summons arrived in a cream envelope, too clean to be friendly. Maya tore it open with the side of her thumb and read each line twice. Final hearing, property use determination. You are required to appear. There was no threat in the wording, only procedure. But she knew better. Bureaucracy didn't need to shout to crush you. It only needed to be consistent. She left the letter on the table next to an unfinished circuit board and walked into the back room of the fixery, where Dante was fitting new hinges to a cabinet someone had donated without drawers. He looked up, catching her face before her voice. They're trying again? She nodded. City says we're in violation. Again. This time it's about occupancy limits and sanitation. Dante leaned on his knee, silent. Then, you think it's about fire codes? Maya shook her head. No, it's about the fire we started. The mural outside had grown, not just in size but in meaning. Where once there were hands, now there were names. People who had passed through, fixed things, left pieces of themselves behind. Someone had added a section in gold. We are still here. No one claimed credit. They didn't need to. Raymond Archer entered the story like a door left ajar. He was an old civil rights lawyer with a limp and a sense of humor that scratched like sandpaper. Maya met him in a church basement where he was teaching tenants how to resist evictions. She didn't expect him to remember her name, but he did. You're the girl with the hands, he said. She blinked. The mural? Yours? She nodded. Then I'll see you at your hearing, he added, tossing her a dog-eared card. Bring truth and a comb. You'll be on camera. The fixery became a war room. Devin and Jalen rewired the lighting. Miss Eleanor typed up affidavits on her granddaughter's laptop. A local artist painted banners that read, Not for sale. Maya paced. Dante stayed calm. "You nervous?" she asked one night as they repainted the doorway a deep, defiant blue. "No," he said. "Nervous means you're not sure who you are. I know exactly who I am." She stopped painting. "And who is that?" He looked at her, then at the building. "I'm the man who won't let them take this from you. From us." She didn't answer, just stepped closer and pressed her forehead to his shoulder. That night, they didn't sleep. They lay on the studio floor with a blanket and shared breath like it was oxygen. The day of the hearing arrived under a heavy sky. Maya wore a dress the color of old stone and flats that made no sound. Dante wore the same boots he'd worn the night they first danced. Inside the hall, the air was cool and sharp. Crenshaw sat with 3 lawyers, each with folders stacked like shields. Maya sat with Raymond, who didn't bother to bring a briefcase. He carried only one sheet of paper, a copy of a poem Maya's mother once wrote, printed on the back of a flyer. "In case they forget we're human," he said. The hearing began. City officials spoke in code. Density, violations, noise complaints. Crenshaw's lawyers displayed graphs, citing risk. Maya stood only when called. She didn't bring a presentation. She brought her voice. "You say we're misusing a building," she began. "I say we're building what you've neglected. A place where a girl can paint instead of fight. Where a man can fix something and remember he's still useful. Where names go on walls, not in police files. If that's misuse, then we're guilty." Her voice cracked once, but she didn't stop. "We didn't start a fire. We lit a lamp. And if that scares you, maybe you should ask why you preferred the dark." Silence followed. Not empty silence, but the kind that fills your ears. The panel requested a recess. Outside, supporters gathered. People who had fixed fans, radios, toasters, and in doing so, fixed something inside themselves. Reporters took notes. Children chalked hearts on the sidewalk. Maya stood beside Dante, hand in his. "Whatever happens," she said, "this is ours." He nodded. "It always was." The decision came by mail 3 days later. Maya opened it in the fixery, surrounded by people pretending not to watch. She read the first paragraph, then the second, then smiled. "They ruled in our favor," she whispered. "We stay." Cheers broke out. Jalen whooped. Devin hugged a stranger. Miss Eleanor cried. Dante didn't cheer. He kissed her forehead, then stepped outside to finish the mural. A new line appeared that night in white paint. "Truth is a home you build, brick by breath. But victory carries its own weight." The city allowed them to stay, but cut off grants and inspections. No funding, no aid, no repairs for their repairs. Maya spent the next weeks juggling balance sheets and broken faucets. She didn't sleep much. Dante caught her once curled up on the floor with blueprints as a pillow. He carried her to the back room and whispered, "You can't pour from an empty cup." She mumbled, "We can't slow down." He smiled, "We won't, but we can breathe." One evening, a boy named Keon brought in a busted drone and a notebook full of sketches. He barely spoke, but he watched Dante's hands carefully, mimicking every movement. Maya sat nearby, answering emails. Keon suddenly looked up. "Do I have to be like you to do this?" he asked. Dante didn't flinch. "No," he said. "You just have to be like you." Keon smiled. Later that night, Maya told Dante, "You're building more than shelves." He shrugged. "So are you." The mural reached the top of the building. It was no longer just art. It was a landmark, a heartbeat, a reminder. But storms don't stop just because you danced in the rain once. Crenshaw wasn't done. He moved to sell the land. New buyer, new contract, no guarantees. Maya stared at the paperwork and felt the familiar ache. But this time she didn't crumble. She turned to Dante and said, "Then we buy it ourselves." He laughed, dry. "With what? Hope and glue?" She didn't smile. "With truth, with noise, with people." The next morning, she launched a campaign called Fix This City. Videos of the fixery, testimonials, live streams, donations poured in, small at first, then larger. Within days, they had half of what they needed. Maya spoke on a podcast. Dante taught a repair class online. The story spread. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was true. One night, as they stood in front of the mural now glowing under spotlights powered by solar panels, Maya turned to Dante. "We're going to make it." He looked at her the way someone looks when they've already made peace with the impossible. "We already did," he said. The sun rose without urgency, brushing soft gold across the rooftop of the fixery. Maya stood with her back to the city, her arms crossed, eyes on the horizon like she was waiting for something to show itself. Below her, the mural breathed in the morning light hands and hearts and gears stitched together in every color the neighborhood could spare. Donations had surged. They were close, just 5,000 short of buying the deed to the building. Dante came up behind her carrying coffee and silence. She took the cup without looking. He didn't need to speak. Their mornings had learned to stretch without conversation. But today, something buzzed under the quiet. A news van pulled up across the street. A new story was forming. Walter Crenshaw had countered. Publicly. He announced his intention to demolish the property, claiming the structure was unsound, and the city, silent for weeks, suddenly sent inspectors. Maya received an order marked urgent, requesting evacuation for safety assessment. The hearing had meant nothing. She held the paper like it was an old wound reopened. "They want to bury us," she said. Dante read the notice and handed it back. "Then we build louder." And that night, Maya didn't sleep. She wrote a letter, then another, then called everyone who'd ever fixed so much as a coffee grinder in that studio. By morning, the sidewalk was full, not with protest signs, but with people holding what they'd fixed. A woman with a humming blender, a boy with a glowing lamp, a man with a suitcase full of patched clothes. It wasn't defiance. It was gratitude, the kind that fills streets. When the inspectors arrived, they couldn't even reach the door. Cameras were already there. Raymond showed up with 2 reporters and a scarf that read, "We the People." Maya stood on the steps and read the letter she'd stayed up writing. It wasn't a defense, it was a declaration. We are not in violation. We are in resurrection. We have turned forgotten corners into classrooms, broken tools into new trades, and silence into structure. If you destroy this building, you don't just demolish brick. You break memory. You unbuild us. The mayor's office issued a pause. Temporary. Just time. But it was enough. They pushed harder. The campaign hit national news. Celebrities reposted their videos. A retired NBA player donated $20,000. An elderly woman from Ohio sent $5 in a note. "I don't know how to fix a toaster, but you fixed something in me." Maya cried, reading it. So did Miss Eleanor. Dante simply nodded and painted a small toaster in the mural's corner. 3 weeks later, the building became theirs. Signed, sealed, stamped. Maya held the deed like a newborn. Devin and Jalen lifted her off the ground. Dante kissed her in front of everyone. She didn't flinch. She didn't hide. She just held his face and whispered, "You're home." But the fixery wasn't the end. It was the seed. Maya announced the expansion within days. Simple and bold. A second site, downtown. This time not just for repairs, but for building from scratch. Apprenticeships, scholarships, trade literacy. The mural would be copied on a larger scale, each new version evolving as each neighborhood added their own chapter. Dante designed the workshop layout. Devin trained new staff. Jalen started a community podcast called We Fix Us. Maya gave the keynote at a national urban design summit. Wearing sneakers and no notes, she ended with, "No one is disposable. Not things, not people, not dreams. We fix what we value, and we've decided to value each other. But all light has shadow." One afternoon, a woman approached Maya at the fixery. Thin, with anxious eyes and a scarf pulled tight, she asked for a moment in private. Maya led her to the back room. The woman said, "I'm Isaiah's mother." Maya froze. Isaiah, the boy who'd painted sunflowers, who came in with silence and left with plans. Maya remembered the first time he smiled, the first time he laughed when Dante dropped a hammer on his toe and cursed in 3 languages. "I didn't abandon him," the woman said. "I left him because I couldn't keep him safe. I had no place, no job, and no one would help me unless I said I was alone. I chose survival." Maya said nothing. The woman continued, "He still has the sunflower drawing?" Maya nodded. "It's taped to his bed, next to the light he fixed himself." The woman wiped her eyes. "I just want to know he's okay. I won't take him. I just needed to know." Maya touched her hand. "He's more than okay. He's starting to believe he's meant for more." Dante sat with Isaiah that night, explaining what Maya had told him. The boy didn't cry. He just stared out the window, then whispered, "I think I still want to stay here. But maybe she could come to the mural sometime." She did, quietly. She watched from the sidewalk as Isaiah added a new petal to the sunflower. No words were exchanged, just a nod. Sometimes that's enough. The final addition to the mural came not from an artist, but from a mechanic named Lucas, who had spent 6 weeks repairing one small radio. When asked why, he said, "Because I wanted to hear the sound of something honest." He painted a small white bird in the top corner. Beneath it, Dante added the last line in black. "We don't fix things because they're broken. We fix them because they matter." On the last night of summer, the fixery hosted a celebration. Lights strung across the roof, music played, children ran between folding chairs and paint buckets. Maya stood with Dante, both holding cups of juice like it was wine. "You ever think this was going to happen?" she asked. He shook his head. "I didn't even think I was going to be seen." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Well, I saw you." He smiled. "I still do." The music swelled, laughter floated, and the city, once cold and quiet, hummed with the sound of something that had been rebuilt not just with hands, but with heart.